Hello and welcome, my name is Meepolis, they, he, she, and today's pick is an initial thoughts review of The Invisibles, Book 1, Deluxe Edition, by Grant Morrison, Steve Yeowell, Jill Thompson, Justine Mara Andersen, Chris Weston, John Ridgway, Steve Parkhouse, Duncan Fegredo, Daniel Vozzo, Clam Robbins, and Annie Parkhouse. This trade collection includes 12 issues from the original Volume 1 and an issue from the Absolute Vertigo, all of which were originally published in 1994 and 95. This deluxe edition was first printed in 2014 by Vertigo. This is part of my Vertigo read-through and inspired by an interest in dipping my toes back into some of Morrison's work. Content notes for arson, gun violence, youth homelessness, queerphobia, body horror, violence against children, effigy, violence against kink, orientalism, harm to animals, sexual violence, nudity, N-word, parts of bodies are cut off, and substance users are zombies. As with almost all of Vertigo's titles, this trade is recommended for mature readers and can get pretty graphic. Surprisingly enough, this is actually my first Grant Morrison review, although I have previously read Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman R.I.P., and Batman and Robin, mostly a long time ago. I hadn't touched them in a while because of an impression that they were perhaps super edgy for edgy's sake. To be completely transparent, I'm only feeling inspired to revisit their work because of the way Morrison's gender fuckery entered my awareness in 2020. It also seemed interesting to expand my knowledge about the ways Morrison and Moore have paralleled and clashed over the years. But to actually get to a bio already, Grant was born in 1960 and had their first comic published in 1978. Some of their most popular work published pre-Invisibles was Animal Man, Doom Patrol, and Arkham Asylum, although they were very prolific both before and since. But if I listed everything, we would be here all day. Wrapping things up, they are Scottish, married, and apparently have a complicated relationship with not having had children. Moving through the rest of the creative team, as we do, Jill Thompson has already been highlighted in my reviews of The Sandman Volume 6, Fables and Reflections, so check her out there if you are interested, and John Ridgway was highlighted in my combined Sandman 8, 9, and 10 review, link in the cards. Daniel Vozzo was highlighted in my review of Sandman Volume 1, Preludes and Nocturnes, and Annie Parkhouse worked on John Constantine Hellblazer, Original Sin. In contrast, new names to the channel include Steve Yeowell, originally trained in silversmithing and jewelry before his dabbling in comics turned pro. He's British, worked on 2000 AD alongside some other work with Morrison, and more. Then we have Justine Mara Andersen, a prolific American artist, animator, and poet. Her work has appeared in Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, and she's illustrated Who's Who in Jabba's Palace, among many other works. Next is Chris Weston, another British dude, but this time born in Germany. He's done some work on Mark Millar's run on Swamp Thing, 2000 AD, and The Dreaming, among many others. Steve Parkhouse is also British, but this time he moved to so-called America. Apparently he made a comic adaptation of the film Time Bandits, which sounds fun. He also worked on 2000 AD and Doctor Who, among other things. Then we have Duncan Fegredo, also of Britain, worked on Judge Dredd, of course, Enigma, also on my TBR, the comic adaptation of Jay and Silent Bob, Shade, The Changing Man, which I'm currently working through, and on Hellboy, among many other titles. Finally, we have Clam Robbins of Cincinnati, Ohio, who according to his Twitter bio, teaches the Bible, letters comic books, and paints pictures. Keywords that came to mind: street involved, rebellious youth, good versus evil, found family, normalcy, growing up, and horror. The summary is, quote, follow the adventures of the Invisibles, a secret organization out to battle against physical and psychic oppression brought upon humanity by the interdimensional alien gods of the Archons of Outer Church. Introducing the latest recruit into the covert action team known as the Invisibles, a teenage lout from the streets of London. Can Dane survive a mind-altering training course administered by King Mob, end quote. Looking at the writing, it's a lot. Lots of stuff going on and lots to digest. My complete lack of ability to review things in a timely fashion is certainly not helping either. But here we go. Published later than some of the other Vertigo titles I've read of late, but earlier than others. The representation felt much better than any of them. Not perfect, but characters felt fuller and more humanized. Plus, the trans woman managed to live through this volume at the very least. Looking at you, Sandman. Sigh. There were some parts that felt more like Sandman, vignettes scattered through time. Others felt a bit more like Constantine. There's a lot more anarchist aesthetics than I generally find in comics. And while it's not a philosophical treatise, it did feel like the story expressed enough misfit and queer nonconformity to earn it. The art, on the other hand, felt more run-of-the-mill and standard for Vertigo, although that's not the worst thing in the world, and I generally liked it. Glass felt like the most central aspect of the story, particularly to start with, when we are focused exclusively on Dane. For all the fantastical horror woven throughout, the overall experience of Dane as a kid who ends up on the streets felt relatively realistic and not particularly sensationalized or sanitized. As the volume progresses, it felt like we leaned a bit more into gender and sexuality. Dane is a homophobic little shit, but the book pushes back on him pretty hard. Race saw a smattering of representation. We of course served up a few pages of Orientalist nonsense, although it's blessedly short. There are more black characters who felt, to me, a very white person, to be a bit more important and filled out than many black characters in similar Vertigo titles, but I'm anything but the final judge on that, and I didn't find any opinions on the representation of voodoo, although again, having them be on the team with the Invisibles felt better than the violent othering in either Hellblazer Volume 1 or 2, I forget which one. And while there's a lot of body horror, physical difference felt fairly morally neutral. We do get pimple representation, which again, feels very thin on the ground. To conclude, very promising, kind of sets a new standard for the early 90s, I suppose, for very subjective stars, and I'll have to keep reading. Bye y'all, keep reading and stand with striking workers. And Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, an Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.